My name is Hannah. I have an older sister named Kelly. She is 4 years older than me. I also have a mom, a stepdad, and a real dad who doesn't live with us. If my family were normal, I could explain things easily. But my family is not like that. Our story is more sad and complicated. Looking back, I think things started to go wrong when Kelly passed the test to get into a top private school. I was too young to remember it, but later my dad told me that my mom was really happy at the time. She said, "Kelly's future is set." Even then, there may have been signs that she liked Kelly more. My mom called Kelly a super child. Kelly started playing the piano at age 4, took Italian lessons at 5, and got into a tough private school. My mom was so proud of her and often showed off Kelly's talents like they were her own. But I was just an average kid, and I was often sick. I had asthma and couldn't run or play much. I didn't get top grades, and I didn't have any special skills. The only thing I really loved was drawing. When I was in kindergarten, I drew a picture of my family. My teacher liked it and put it on the wall. But my mom didn't care. She said, "Drawing is fine as a hobby." I don't think she knew how much that hurt me. I tried hard to make her love me. I wanted to be special like Kelly, but I never found a talent that made my mom proud. She always gave all her attention to Kelly. The only one who made me feel seen was my real dad. On his days off, he always spent time with both me and Kelly. When my dad found out that I loved drawing, he started spending time drawing with me. "Hannah, your drawings are wonderful," he would say. Even though my drawings were messy, he always praised them. One day, he told me that he put one of my drawings on his desk at work. I still clearly remember how happy that made me. My dad never treated Kelly and me differently. When we went to the park, he pushed each of us on the swing the same number of times. When he bought us ice cream, he made sure both of ours cost the same. Those little things made me feel loved. He often said, "Hannah, I want you and Kelly to dream big," while gently patting our heads. Even when he came home tired, he always listened to our stories, laughed with us, and really thought about what we said. His kindness slowly filled the emptiness I felt because my mom didn't seem to care about me. I clearly remember my 7th birthday. That evening, my mom was out with Kelly for one of her extra classes.
I was left at home by myself.
That was normal for us, and my mom didn't mind leaving me alone, even though I was still little. I usually just drew pictures and waited. But that day was different. It was my birthday. I felt lonely. There was no cake and no one to celebrate with. But my dad changed his schedule and came home early. He didn't bake a cake, but he brought one from the store. I still remember him gently placing candles on it. "Hannah, just be yourself and find what you love," he told me. That was the opposite of what my mom always said. She believed I had to be special. But my dad made me feel that being myself was enough. When I was 7, everything changed. My parents got divorced. I don't remember much, but I still see my dad's back as he left the house, and I can still hear my mom quietly crying. When my dad patted my head for the last time, his hand felt warm, like it would always be there. But that feeling soon became just a memory. My dad worked as a salesman for a big company, but my mom didn't think he made enough money, especially after Kelly started going to a private school. Paying for her school and for my mom's social life made things hard for our family. My mom spent most of her money on outings with other moms from Kelly's private school. They were known as her mom friends. They met every week for lunch at fancy restaurants. Each time, my mom would buy new designer bags and clothes. "This is important for making connections," she would say whenever my dad complained. But the truth was, most of the other moms in that group were very rich. My mom said she got useful information from them about good tutors and activities for Kelly, but to me, it seemed like she just enjoyed shopping at expensive stores and getting beauty treatments at salons for members only. Every payday, my parents fought about money. My dad would ask, "Why do you need an Hermes scarf?" My mom would reply, "You wouldn't understand. I don't want to look poor in front of the other moms." I still remember the day my dad spread out a bunch of receipts on the desk. An Italian restaurant in the Midtown Manhattan, a nail salon in Midtown East, afternoon tea on 6th Avenue. Sometimes just one lunch cost more than what my dad earned in a whole day. My mom kept spending and said it was all for Kelly, like for piano lessons, ballet, Italian classes. But I often wondered if it was really more about making herself feel important. The kid next door is going to summer camp overseas. We need to send Kelly too, she'd say. My dad worked extra hours to pay for everything, but it was never enough. Her requests just kept growing. Sometimes I peeked at the notebook where my dad tracked our money. There were so many red numbers. I could hear him using the calculator late at night trying to figure out how to make it all work. Even with all that stress, my dad never stopped caring for us. He even worked weekends. When he came home, he looked very tired, but he still treated Kelly and me with love. I can still feel the warmth of his hand when he patted our heads and said, "You are my precious treasures." On his days off, he would take us to the park. We brought homemade lunches, laid out a picnic blanket, and spent time together as a family. Looking back, those may have been our last happy times together. But my mom didn't see the effort he made. "Your income isn't enough for Kelly's future," she would say. And the fighting between them continued every night. At night, I often woke up to the sound of my mom yelling. Her angry voice echoed through the house. Kelly would turn up the music in her room to block out the noise. I just stayed in bed, shaking, with my face buried in my pillow. In the end, my dad collapsed from working too much. That's when my parents got divorced. But my mom told a different story. She told the neighbors and people at school that my dad had died in a work accident. She said, "Being a widow looks better than being divorced," and made both me and Kelly promise not to say anything. She hid all my dad's photos, and we were not allowed to talk about him at all. To the other parents at Kelly's private school, my mom acted like everything was perfect. She would say things like, "I'm doing my best with the life insurance money my husband left behind, all for my children's education." Sometimes she even cried to make her story seem more real. People felt sorry for her. But I suffered because of her lie. I had to pretend my father was dead, even though he was alive and still thinking about us. For a child, that was very painful. Later, I found out that my dad had been sending money to help us after the divorce, but at the time, I didn't know anything about it. 1 year after the divorce, my mom met a man named Scott. He owned a real estate company. My mom was struggling with money and raising us alone, and Scott seemed to bring her comfort. "For the children's sake, let's build a new family together," he told her. I think those words gave my mom hope. Her lie about my dad continued easily with Scott in the picture. "Scott saved me after I lost my husband," she would say, turning everything into a sad, sweet story, like something from a fairy tale. The first time Scott came to our house, my mom introduced him as our new dad. Kelly smiled and welcomed him, but I felt scared. I couldn't stop thinking about my real dad. It was like his shadow was still there, standing behind Scott. After only 7 months of dating, my mom married Scott. I was 8. The wedding was big, and my mom looked happy. But deep down, something didn't feel right to me. That feeling grew stronger over time, and it turned out to be true. "We can finally be a normal family," my mom said with joy. But she was wrong. Kelly got along with Scott easily. She quickly became close to him. But I couldn't. Scott seemed nice at first, but I noticed that he treated Kelly much better than he treated me. At dinner, the table was always filled with food Kelly liked, while no one cared about what I liked. I think my stepfather didn't like me, because I never accepted him. He quickly became someone who did whatever my mother said. Around that time, my asthma got worse. During an attack, it felt like I was drowning. I couldn't breathe, and the fear and pain were something I can't even describe. When I had attacks at night, I had to go through them alone. From the next room, I could hear my mom and Scott talking about Kelly's school and future. No one cared about what I was going through. That kind of loneliness hurt more than the asthma itself. The local doctor warned my mom several times, saying I should go to a bigger hospital for a full checkup. But my mom and Scott kept putting it off. Kelly's activities cost a lot. "We have to focus on her future," they would say again and again. One day at school, I had a sudden asthma attack and collapsed in the nurse's office. The nurse wanted to call an ambulance, but my mom said, "I'll pick her up myself," and told them not to call one. So, I had to wait there for an hour, struggling to breathe, until my mom finally came. The nurse called her many times, begging her to let them get me help, but She kept saying no. Meanwhile, Kelly had started working as a model at her fancy private school. She was always one of the top students. For Kelly, no cost was too much. That's how my mom and Scott thought. Even though my asthma was getting worse, they didn't want to take me to a proper hospital. Going to the hospital takes time and money, my mom would say. Because of that, I had to deal with many attacks without real treatment. In Kelly's room, there was a new computer and shelves full of expensive books and supplies for her activities. In my room, I had old textbooks and secondhand clothes that were faded and worn. The difference between us kept growing. What hurt more than the asthma was how little my family seemed to care about me. When I was in ninth grade, everything changed. That morning, I didn't feel well. I had a bad feeling that I might have another asthma attack. I told my mom the night before, "I don't feel good." But she didn't take it seriously. "You'll be fine. It's probably just in your head," she said. She left early to go with Kelly to her mock exams, and Scott went to work. I was left home alone. By early afternoon, my fears came true. Suddenly, I had a serious asthma attack. I took my usual medicine, but it didn't help. My breathing got worse very fast. I tried calling my mom, but her phone was off. If this keeps going, I might die, I thought. I started to panic. In desperation, I called my real dad, a number I wasn't supposed to use. I had secretly written it down after seeing it in my mom's call history. I had looked at that number many times, thinking about calling, but I was always too scared of my mom getting angry. But this time was different. I felt like my life was in danger. My hands were shaking as I pressed the number. "Hello? Dad, help me? Hannah? Is that you? What's wrong?" I tried to explain while struggling to breathe. As soon as I heard his voice, memories came flooding back, riding on his shoulders, swinging at the park, his warm hand when we said goodbye. He didn't hesitate. "I'm calling an ambulance right now. I'll meet you at the hospital." As soon as he said that, I burst into tears. Everything I had been holding in came out at once. In less than 15 minutes, the ambulance arrived. I heard the paramedics' voices, then everything went dark. When I woke up, I was already in a hospital bed. My dad was right there beside me. "Hannah, thank goodness. If we had been any later..." He held my hand tightly, tears falling from his eyes. He looked thinner than I remembered, with more gray hair. But his kind eyes were the same. He stayed with me at the hospital until I was safe. From that moment, the truth started to come out. After the divorce, my dad had been sending child support every month, a large amount meant for both Kelly and me. But none of it had been used for my medical care. Instead, all of it went to Kelly. My mom and stepfather even bought a vacation home using the money. It was supposed to be part of Kelly's future. On weekends, they took her there, and threw fancy parties. They told me they were just going out for Kelly's modeling work. They never once mentioned the vacation home. Meanwhile, they refused to pay for the hospital care I badly needed. They held back the money that could have saved me. My dad was furious. "This is clear fraud. And even worse, it's abuse and putting a child in danger." He reported everything to the police. My mom and stepfather were called in for questioning, under suspicion of fraud and medical neglect. My mother admitted to everything. But instead of feeling sorry, she acted proud. "Kelly has talent. Helping her grow needs money," she said. "Hannah is just an ordinary child." The investigation moved fast. The police found clear records of how my dad's child support money had been spent. He had been sending $3,000 every month. Most of it was used only for Kelly, on a vacation home in Arizona, expensive private tutors, training programs overseas, and even cosmetic surgery for her modeling career. Meanwhile, I only got the most basic medical care, covered by regular insurance. The doctors told us, if she had received proper treatment earlier, her condition wouldn't have gotten this bad. By then, my health had already been seriously damaged, and I had to stay in the hospital for a long time. "This cannot be ignored," my father said. His anger grew stronger each day. He talked to a lawyer and started preparing to press charges against my mother and stepfather. In the end, they were both arrested for fraud and child abuse. Even as the police took her away, my mother shouted, "I didn't do anything wrong. Everything I did was to support Kelly's talent." Hearing her yell those words, I didn't know how to feel. Yes, she had hurt me. She had stolen money that was meant for my care. But she was still my mother. I couldn't bear to watch her being taken away, so I turned my head. After she left, I walked into her room alone. In the back of a drawer, I found one old photo of me as a child. In the picture, my mom was smiling as she held me in her arms. I wondered, when did she stop seeing me? When did she start caring only about Kelly? The case quickly made the news. Headlines talked about child support fraud, medical neglect, and unfair treatment between sisters. But the most shocking headline was, 9 years of pretending a father was dead. When people found out my dad was alive, it caused a big stir, especially among the parents at Kelly's school. Many of them had known my mom for years. Kelly had gone to that same model private school from elementary to high school, so most of the parents were longtime friends. My mom had acted like a grieving widow for years. In truth, it was all a lie. People felt tricked. "So those tears were fake too?" they said. We felt sorry for her. We even took her out for meals. "She stepped all over our kindness," said another. My mother's lies had grown too big. The story became huge. People in the neighborhood had different opinions. "I always thought she acted like she was better than everyone," one person said. "But the kids, how sad for them. Can you believe her husband was alive this whole time?" Rumors spread fast, and soon groups of curious people began showing up outside our house. As the trial went on, all of my mother's lies started to fall apart. Even my stepfather had believed my real dad was dead. The fake story my mom had built for years was slowly taken apart, piece by piece. But something even darker came out during the trial. A mental health test showed that my mother had a serious condition. She had an extreme need for approval and was deeply afraid of what others thought of her. She lied again and again just to keep up the image of being a perfect mother. That condition may have been the cause of everything that went wrong in our family. Still, I sometimes wonder, what if my mom had just told the truth about the divorce from the start? What if she had lived honestly, without caring so much about how others saw her? Would our family have turned out different? While I was still in the hospital, Kelly came to visit me. "Hannah, I'm so sorry," she said, tears falling down her face. I realized then that she had been a victim too. She had lived under the heavy pressure of our mom and stepfather's dreams. She hadn't been allowed to make choices for herself. For the first time, I understood her pain. Kelly began to open up. She told me that becoming a model, even getting cosmetic surgery, none of it had been her decision. "I never wanted to be a model," she said, her voice shaking. Mom kept saying, "You're special." But being special just became a heavy weight on my shoulders. Because she was special, she wasn't allowed to make normal friends or wear the clothes she liked. Everything in her life was controlled by our mom. Since middle school, Kelly had been struggling with anorexia. She was forced to go on extreme diets for magazine photos. Our mom didn't notice how much Kelly was suffering, or maybe she chose not to see it. "The truth is, I wanted to be a chef," Kelly said with a small, shy smile. But Mom said a model being a chef was ridiculous. She told me the only time she truly felt happy was in cooking class at school. Then she showed me her phone. It was filled with photos of dishes she had made, secret photos she had taken like little treasures just for herself. "Hannah," she said, "we didn't really know each other at all, did we? I had to carry the weight of being special, and you were ignored by Mom," Kelly said. "But from now on, things will be different, right?" I nodded. We hadn't really been close as sisters before, but that was going to change. Kelly had just wanted a normal life, like any regular high school girl. "Kelly, I'm sorry too," I said. "I didn't see what you were going through." We hugged and cried together. It would take time to heal all the years we spent not understanding each other, the days we felt alone even while living in the same house. But one thing was clear, this was a new beginning for us. My father got custody of both Kelly and me. He changed his work schedule and got us a new house. It was small, but it felt warm and safe. Kelly left her life in the spotlight and went back to being a regular student. With good medical care, my asthma slowly started to get better. After the trial, my mother and stepfather were sent to prison. Even on the day she was sentenced, my mother still tried to defend what she had done. Watching her, I didn't feel angry, just very sad. She had forgotten what true happiness meant. Now, our family is starting a new chapter. Our dad still surrounds us with the same love he always gave. On weekends, the three of us cook together. Kelly plans the menu, and my dad and I help her in the kitchen. Sometimes things go wrong, but we laugh, and those little mistakes become memories we treasure. On my dad's desk at work, there's a photo of Kelly and me. It's not one of her fancy modeling pictures. It's just a simple photo of the two of us smiling. My dad loves us just the way we are. Kelly is now studying to enter culinary school. When I grow up, I want to open my own cafe, she said, her eyes glowing with joy. That smile looked more real than any I saw during her modeling days. Thanks to regular doctor visits and the right treatment, my asthma is now under control. I don't live in fear anymore. And I've started thinking about my own future, too. I want to use my love for drawing, something I've loved since I was little, to bring warmth and happiness to others. That dream is finally starting to come true.